Okay, this is now January the 17th, 2017, and this is the 5 Minute Tarot, episode 9. Today, I shuffled a moment ago and got this card, the King of Pentacles. So, people struggle with court cards, kings, queens, knights, and pages. So, one thing we ought to remember, a court card can represent the questioner or somebody the question is going to deal with. And what you do realistically in a reading is you say, if this card represents you, then blah, blah, blah. If it represents somebody else, then blah, blah, blah. And you leave it at that. You don't need to know for sure if it's a person or if it's somebody that they're going to meet. And there are reasons for that, but that's okay for the moment. So we're going to look at this card, the King of Pentacles. And if you notice, we've got a bull here and one there and one there. So the card, obviously, because there are 4 bulls, represents the zodiacal sign of Taurus. But I want to say, we don't mention this to the questioner. And this is because people generally don't know what Taurus is like. You know, they say they're hardworking, but then the questioner can easily say, well, my cousin, brother, sister, husband, wife is a Taurian and they're the latest person you've ever met, which immediately puts the reader at a disadvantage because you've then got to either change your story or try to justify your position, or you can become defensive. So it's a bit like lawyers say you shouldn't ask a question unless you know what the answer is. Right, so that you don't want to be thrown by or sidetracked by the answer that the person gives. So generally speaking, it's a good idea to stay away from astrological terminology in a tarot reading because it's kind of asking for trouble, partly because with Taurus and with all the signs, there are 3 10-degree portions called decanates. So the beginning of Taurus is Taurus, the middle of Taurus is Virgo, and the end of Taurus is Capricorn, and they're not quite the same, right? And you don't want to have to go into divisions and subdivisions of the sign if you just want to make a point. So better to stick with a king. It's a king. Everybody can see it's a king because that's what it says. And kings are people who are probably older, people who are established, people who have some kind of authority, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of area you're dealing with. The person has authority. They say and do things that other people accept or respect or appreciate or are willing to follow. There can be more than that, but that gives us an idea of what you're dealing with a king, right? So if the king comes up, it can be that the questioner, is supposed to become a king. They're supposed to develop skill and authority, which may mean that they need to go and learn a course of study or pursue a course of study or recognize where they're weak and strengthen in those areas. And then, because somebody can be pretty knowledgeable in a particular area, but they've got certain weaknesses, and people keep pointing out the weaknesses. So what you do is you figure out, or you do something about the weaknesses and make them strong. And then you become the king. Then you've got authority that people don't question. So it's a king. But we've also got, I'm thinking of the time here, but we've got grapes, right, in the picture. And so the card, if you look at it, it does seem quite rich and fruitful and having a lot of stuff and lots to eat and drink and good food and luxury and, you know, things like that. So if somebody wants to know about buying a present for a husband or wife, and you say, okay, buy them a watch, but you don't buy them a $2 watch in a drugstore, which is going to work well enough for a year. What you do is you buy them I don't know the names of watches. You buy them a Seiko, or if you're really well off, you buy them a Rolex. Okay, so you're dealing with high-end products and high-end stuff. and good quality stuff as well, just because of the atmosphere of wealth and well-being that's represented by the card. But it struck me when I was looking at the grapes. We, in Scotland, years ago, we had a little greenhouse, and in the greenhouse there was a vine, and we had grapes, and grapes were a real pain. I don't know if you ever, because you had to, when the grapes were coming through and just developing, you had to go and you had to trim out you had to remove some grapes so there was space for the other grapes to become big, right? Otherwise you end up with grapes which are kind of little and small and not very tasty. So I'm saying with the King of Pentacles, because there are grapes, you have to pay attention to detail, and you have to do small tasks that are important for the final product or the final outcome to be worthwhile and valuable and good. That's something that can be said about the King of Pentacles. Tomorrow will be who knows what, but it will be episode 10. Okay, bye-bye.